Imagine driving through the city, lost in thought, when suddenly, a starving, terrified German Shepherd crashes through your open car window. His ribs are visible, his fur matted, his eyes wild with fear. He refuses to leave, trembling in your back seat as if you're his only hope. But why did he choose you? And what was he running from? This couple had no idea the horrifying truth they were about to uncover, and when they finally learned why Tyson jumped into their car, their lives changed forever. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the congested city streets as Emily guided her car through the sluggish traffic. After a grueling double shift at the children's hospital, her shoulders ached with exhaustion. The air conditioning hummed weakly against the late summer heat, doing little to relieve the stuffy interior. Beside her, Jake absent-mindedly scrolled through his phone, occasionally commenting on some sports score or work email. "Should we grab takeout or just eat whatever's in the fridge?" Jake asked, stifling a yawn. Emily opened her mouth to respond when movement caught her eye. A blur of tan and black streaked across her peripheral vision. Before she could process what was happening, a massive weight crashed through the open rear passenger window. The car swerved violently as Emily instinctively slammed the brakes. Horns blared behind them as she fought to control the vehicle. "What the hell was that?" Jake shouted, whipping around. In the back seat, curled into the smallest possible ball, was the most emaciated German Shepherd Emily had ever seen. His ribs protruded sharply beneath his filthy, matted coat. Dried blood caked one ear, and his entire body trembled so violently the seat vibrated beneath him. But it was his eyes that struck Emily most. Wide, terrified, and yet pleading. Jake slowly reached for the door handle. "Okay, big guy, let's get you out of..." The dog flinched so hard he smacked his head against the window, letting out a pained yelp. His tail tucked so tightly between his legs it disappeared. Emily's medical training kicked in. "Don't move," she whispered to Jake. "He's in survival mode." She carefully turned in her seat, keeping her movement slow and predictable. The dog's nostrils flared as he sniffed the air, his panicked eyes darting between them. Up close, Emily could see fresh abrasions on his muzzle and paws. These weren't the marks of a stray, these were the wounds of an escape. Someone was hurting him, Emily realized aloud. Jake's expression darkened as he took in the dog's condition. The shepherd's coat was patchy in places, with suspicious circular scars that looked like cigarette burns. His left ear had a jagged tear, poorly healed. As rush hour traffic crawled around them, Emily made a decision. She reached into her purse and pulled out a protein bar, unwrapping it slowly. The dog's nose twitched, but he didn't move. "It's okay," Emily murmured, breaking off a small piece and placing it on the seat near him. "You're safe now." For 5 excruciating minutes, nothing happened. Then with agonizing slowness, the dog stretched his neck forward, snatched the morsel, and immediately retreated to his corner. Jake exhaled shakily. "We can't just leave him?" Emily nodded, her eyes never leaving the trembling animal. "We won't." As she carefully put the car in drive, the dog didn't try to escape. He just watched them with those haunted eyes as if waiting for the next blow to come. Emily's hands tightened on the wheel. Whatever this dog had endured, his story was far from over. Their apartment felt different with the German Shepherd inside. Smaller, heavier, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Emily had christened him Tyson, after the boxer, for his fighting spirit. Tyson hadn't moved from the nest of blankets they'd made in the corner of the living room. His entire body remained coiled tight, his breathing shallow and rapid. The bowl of water and kibble they'd set out remained untouched. "Maybe we should call animal control," Jake suggested for the 3rd time, running a hand through his hair. Emily shook her head firmly. "Look at him, Jake. He's not just scared, he's traumatized. If we turn him over to a shelter..." She didn't need to finish the thought. As night fell, Tyson's anxiety seemed to worsen. Every small sound, the refrigerator humming, a car passing outside, made him flinch. When Jake accidentally dropped a book, Tyson scrambled backwards so violently he hit the wall with a sickening thud. Emily's heart broke watching him. She'd seen this kind of hypervigilance before in abuse survivors at the hospital, that constant expectation of pain. Grabbing a leftover chicken breast from the fridge, Emily approached slowly, moving at an angle rather than directly toward him. She knelt about 3 feet away and placed the meat on the floor between them. "It's just you and me, Tyson," she murmured. "No one's going to hurt you here." For nearly 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then, so subtle she almost missed it, Tyson's nose twitched. His tongue darted out to lick his cracked lips. Still, he didn't move. Emily broke off a tiny piece and tossed it halfway between them. Tyson's ears pricked forward, but he remained frozen. Another 5 minutes passed before he inched forward, stretching his neck impossibly long to snatch the morsel without leaving the safety of his blankets. Progress. By midnight, Tyson had eaten 3 small pieces of chicken from Emily's hand, each time retreating immediately afterward. Jake watched from the couch, his expression unreadable. "You're good with him," he finally said. Emily smiled tiredly. "It's not about being good, it's about patience." She ran a gentle hand down Tyson's spine, feeling every protruding vertebra. "Someone broke his trust. We have to prove we're different." As they turned in for the night, leaving Tyson with his blanket nest, Emily paused in the hallway. A soft sound caught her attention. The quietest, most hesitant whine. She peeked back into the living room. Tyson had moved. Not much. Just a few inches closer to the couch where Jake's discarded sweatshirt lay. He had his nose pressed into the fabric, breathing deeply. Emily's throat tightened. Even in his terror, Tyson was seeking comfort, seeking connection. She left the sweatshirt where it was and went to bed, knowing tomorrow would bring new challenges. But maybe, just maybe, another small step forward. The morning sunlight streaming through the bathroom window did little to dispel the tension in the air. Tyson stood frozen in the tub, his entire body rigid with fear. The warm water lapped at his paws, and every muscle in his emaciated frame was locked tight. "Easy, buddy," Jake murmured, keeping the spray nozzle low and gentle. "We're just going to clean you up, okay?" The second the water touched Tyson's back, he panicked. A strangled yelp escaped his throat as he scrambled against the porcelain, his claws screeching against the surface. Water splashed everywhere as he tried desperately to escape. Emily crouched by the tub, blocking his exit but not touching him. "Shh, it's okay. You're okay." Her voice remained steady despite the ache in her chest. It took 3 attempts before Tyson stopped fighting, though his entire body still trembled violently. As Jake worked the shampoo into his matted fur, the truth of Tyson's suffering became horrifyingly clear. Beneath layers of dirt and grime, his skin was a road map of scars. Long, thin lines crisscrossed his back, whip marks. Circular burns dotted his flanks. Worst of all was the jagged scar running along his rib cage, poorly healed and clearly untreated. Emily's hand shook as she helped rinse him. "This wasn't neglect," she whispered. "This was torture." Jake's jaw clenched. He gently turned Tyson's head to examine the torn ear. "These are defense wounds." He fought back. The bath took nearly an hour, with frequent breaks when Tyson became overwhelmed. But as they toweled him dry, something remarkable happened. Exhausted from the ordeal, Tyson leaned, just slightly, into Jake's chest. It was the smallest gesture, barely noticeable, but it spoke volumes. That night, for the first time, Tyson didn't retreat to his corner. He lay near the couch, his head resting on his paws, watching them with quiet curiosity. When Emily reached out to stroke his damp fur, he didn't flinch. Progress wasn't linear, she reminded herself. There would be setbacks, but today they'd crossed an important threshold. Tyson had learned that touch could be gentle, that hands could heal rather than hurt. As she turned out the lights, Emily glanced back at Tyson's sleeping form. His paws twitched in some doggy dream, but for once, it didn't seem like a nightmare. 3 weeks passed in a rhythm of small victories and occasional setbacks. Tyson now ate regularly, though he still waited for permission before approaching his bowl. He no longer cowered at sudden movements, though loud noises still sent him scrambling. But the real breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday evening. Jake sat on the floor watching a game, a bowl of popcorn in his lap. Tyson lay a few feet away, his head resting on his paws. When a piece of popcorn tumbled to the floor, Tyson's ears perked up. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then with deliberate slowness, Tyson stretched forward and gently took the popcorn from Jake's fingers. Not snatched, not grabbed, taken. Jake froze, his breath catching. Emily, watching from the kitchen doorway, felt tears prick her eyes. But Tyson wasn't done. After swallowing the morsel, he did something extraordinary. He rested his muzzle on Jake's knee, just for a second, just enough to be intentional. Emily's hand flew to her mouth. Jake looked up at her, his eyes suspiciously bright. "I think," Jake's voice cracked, "I think he's choosing to trust us." That night, Tyson didn't sleep in his usual corner. He curled up beside the couch, close enough that his fur brushed Jake's dangling hand. When Jake tentatively stroked his head, Tyson let out a sigh so deep it seemed to come from his soul. Emily knew there were still challenges ahead. Tyson needed veterinary care, proper training, time to heal both physically and emotionally. But in that moment, none of that mattered. Because after everything and after the pain, the fear, the betrayal, Tyson had made a choice. He had chosen to love again. The first time Tyson's tail wagged, it was such a small movement Emily almost missed it. She'd just come home from work, and instead of retreating to his safe space, Tyson had actually come to greet her at the door. His entire body wiggled with barely contained excitement, though he still didn't jump or bark. When Emily knelt to pet him, that's when she saw it, the faintest twitch of his tail. It was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. Months passed. Tyson filled out, his coat growing glossy and full. The haunted look in his eyes faded, replaced by a quiet contentment. He learned to play, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. The day he finally rolled onto his back for a belly rub, Jake had actually cried. But as Emily watched Tyson sleeping peacefully in a sunbeam one afternoon, a dark thought clouded her happiness. How many other Tysons were out there? Dogs languishing in backyards on chains, animals cowering in shelters, their spirits broken. Pets who would never know the safety Tyson had found. That night, she broached the idea with Jake. We should share his story, maybe help other dogs like him. Jake nodded immediately. We could volunteer at the shelter, foster others who need extra care. And so they did. Tyson became an ambassador of sorts, living proof that even the most broken creatures could heal. His story inspired adoptions, donations, even changes in local animal welfare laws. But for Emily and Jake, the greatest gift wasn't in the big moments. It was in the quiet ones. Tyson leaning against their legs while they cooked dinner. The way he helped make the bed by rearranging the blankets, his soft snores filling the nighttime silence. He wasn't just a rescue dog, he was family. And as Emily watched him play with his favorite toy, a stuffed hedgehog he carried everywhere, she knew they'd rescued each other.